First of all, let me say that since the first hearing opened in July, Ranking Member of the full committee, Joe Bonner, myself, and the minority have repeatedly asked that this committee proceed with this hearing as expeditiously as possible, as requested by the respondent. It's unfortunate, in my view, that that did not occur, and we are where we are here today. And I would also agree with Madam Chair that it is also unfortunate that the law firm of Zuckerman, for whatever reason, is not here today to represent Mr. Rangel, and somehow got off the case after the notice of hearing was scheduled. And with that, I'll yield back.
Members of the committee who have questions will be recognized under the 5-minute rule. Do any members of the committee have questions at this time? Mr. McCaul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's our role as judges to determine, as a matter of law on this motion, we need to look at as to whether there's a material issue of fact and dispute. Perhaps the most serious allegations put forth in the SAV have to do with the respondent's alleged violations of the tax code, particularly given the respondent's position as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, the committee charged with writing the tax laws for the nation. In your motion for summary judgment on page 77, Mr. Chisholm, you say respondent also violated the tax laws by failing for 17 years to report and pay on rental income on a beach villa in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Respondent has admitted that he should have reported the rental income. And from there on, you say that it's undisputed and that he violated the Internal Revenue Code. I want to look at some exhibits that you attached to see whether there is any material issue of fact and dispute. On pages 38 and 39, you provide a chart.
Could you suspend for a minute? We have the opportunity to put exhibits on display if members have questions about them. So perhaps we can
take a recess
let that happen. Do you need time to do that, Mr.? Are we ready? Give the exhibit number and they can go with that. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay. You did provide a chart, Mr. Chisholm, on the income on the Punta Cana, and it essentially indicated that he failed to report on original tax returns between the years of 1998 to 2006. Interestingly, he sent a letter in 1993 to the Dominican Republic requesting a contract on this villa where he says, as I mentioned to you, the House Ethics Committee requires disclosures by members of Congress of any assets and unearned income. And while I enjoy a good relationship with the committee's chairman, it certainly would be politically embarrassing if I were unable to provide an accurate accounting of my holdings. And yet when he testified before the investigative subcommittee on the issue of his tax returns, he stated that he had a misguided, inappropriate view, quote unquote, regarding the income because he had not received a check or direct income. However, when the president of Punta Cana testified, he stated that the resort sent statements every 6 months showing this income. And if we could put up exhibit number 82 on the screen. This is a letter to Mr. Rangel from the resort, and in the first paragraph it says this statement shows a total net income of $2,604. Next, I would like to put up exhibit number 540. Now this appears to be a letter written from Mr. Rangel to the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, and in this letter he states, until this year I had not received any personal cash proceeds from the rentals of the unit. That's September of 2008. I have not personally received proceeds in cash. And then he goes on to say that as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, I'm held to a higher standard of propriety. If the committee would turn to exhibit number 87. While he states that he did not receive this income, I found, as the judge, interesting exhibit number 87, that he sent a letter under his signature to the Punta Cana Yacht Club asking them, please send the income check for Beachville 412 Punta Cana to the account of Charles and Alma Rangel. There seems to be, in my view, some discrepancy in the record as to whether, when we talk about earned income and whether this should be reported, the documents seemed, in my view, to indicate another matter. And lastly, exhibit number 89, if that could be put up on the screen. When he said he never received cash, yet when I was reviewing the exhibits, I found this wire transfer directly from the Punta Cana Yacht Club to Mr. Rangel as far back as 2002. These statements from there, in terms of the earned income, is my understanding, were sent to every 6 months. And so I guess my question is, and these letters were written on official stationery for Mr. Chisholm, on one hand, I think the documents seem to be uncontroverted, and yet Mr. Rangel seems to have some explanation as to why this was not earned income. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Ranking Member McCaul, the paper governs. It governs quite simply. The respondent did not report on his tax returns income that he received. These documents, Exhibits 86 and 87, show, and Exhibit 95, show clearly that the respondent was told that he had income and that he requested of Punta Cana and told them where to send that money. That's unequivocal. He did make statements at some point that were not sworn in a letter to the Speaker that he read that suggested that he didn't know. Frankly, there is no doubt that he did. The evidence in this record, again, which is in fact the paper here, shows that he knew and that he failed repeatedly to report his income. I would also note exhibit number 5. This was in 2000, and the respondent did not report income on for Punta Cana on his tax return. His amended financial disclosure indicated that there was between $2,500 and $5,000 worth of income. We don't have an amended tax return for that year. But this letter, exhibit number 5, if you'll look at the highlighted portion, there was no income derived by us from these assets during the year 2000, and that fact should have been noted in my financial disclosure statement.
And so the committee actually worked with him to identify this, but it appears from the record that he continued to deny that
he affirmatively
this income was to be reported.
That's right. He affirmatively stated that he did not have income, and the documents indicate that he did.
And let me close, Madam Chair, and I know our time is limited, that I agree with Mr. Rangel in his letter to the Speaker that as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, he should be held to a higher standard. With that, I yield back.
We adopt the SAV, but Council's motion is that we decide that there are no material facts in dispute. And that motion is something that I think we will want to discuss in closed session. We have heard the arguments. We have had an opportunity to ask our questions. And unless there are further matters to come before us on that. Yes, sir, Mr. McCaul? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a point of clarification. I'm hopeful this committee will be able to come to